Well, at happiness data, the goal is minimum effort for maximum result. Uh, and one of the ways to do that when sustainable happiness is the goal is to do things that make us happy to do in a way that make other people enjoy what we're doing. So you've got, a great symmetry there. So Monty Python inspired me since I was maybe 14 years old. I think it was maybe even 12, with a periodic event of going through life and realizing this would make a great Monty Python sketch. So here's my idea for a nonprofit happiness creating project. It's called the Monty Python Knockoff, and the theme is unashamedly copying, plagiarizing, and borrowing on the brilliant setup that Monty Python used to create a stunning body of comedy and then abandon all of us for 4 decades with no continuation, no great substitute. So here's the role playing or the dance in this project. Number one, we need various animators. We need the role of Terry Gilliam. People who can make transitions from one thing to another, can create funny jokes, different ways it can be put together. We need lots of them. And we can vote then on funny transitions. So the theme is open-sourced, plagiarism, and democracy, meaning Pythons used to get together and argue about what was and wasn't funny. So we can all put forth different ideas, and things that make people laugh can be put together. So it's open source in that anyone can edit it. It's open source in that anyone can submit material, and it can be re-edited in different ways. And the roles are simple. So we've got ideas. This would be a funny joke right here. We've got animation and graphics. We've got the animation of graphics. So one person can create interesting and funny graphics. Another person can animate them. Another person can remix and reanimate them. And so we've got 3 clear roles that anyone can play who wants to. And we've got the idea roles. Anyone can submit ideas. Then we've got acting the ideas in different skits. Now, the Pythons needed to rely on themselves as the only actors. We don't. We can write sketch. Anyone can write a sketch, and anyone else can play a part or a scene in that sketch. And in this way, like a montage coming into focus, bits and pieces, a dot of this sketch, a dot of that sketch, a this of this sketch, a rework of this sketch, slowly build and come into focus until the point that at the end, the goal should be to create more shows and more jokes than Monty Python. And beat them at their own game. And so that in and of itself suggests a Monty Python sketch, where we take John Cleese's face, and I was just reading a YouTube video on the deep fakes going on. We need to get Monty Pythons in a deep fake to all say that our plagiarism is superior to the original. So that'll be kind of the termination of the show. And we can have the Pythons sitting there in their armchairs in one of the public panel discussions in which they're fed various dialogues about why they think this or that sketch of the fake Monty Python is better than the original. And that would be a great Monty Python sketch right there. We can also fiddle around with having the Monty Python characters create sketches that didn't exist. And let's go through the ingredients of great Monty Python-esque humor. And so first of all, we have graphics. Second of all, we can now have time travel. This can be a feature in this show, where first of all, this is non-profit. This whole thing, if there is any money in it at all, it can go to my charity, Happiness Data, or to some other charity. It doesn't matter. The Pythons can pick a charity if they want. But we've got a time travel element. So we've got the animation, we've got time travel. The time travel is that in every episode, we go back to a Monty Python sketch and bring it forward. So it might be back in time, which can be a whole animated thing of different clocks unraveling and this unraveling and back in time. And then poof, we play a Monty Python sketch. Now, this is not for new people to Python. This is for Python fans, by Python fans, to have fun. So we don't have to introduce too much context, but we can zoom into a 3-second to 10-second thing of an original series. Then we can come in with a big knife and chop the sketch in half. We can have a sketch chopper, where their job is to dress up in an interesting costume. Maybe we can have famous people playing in some of these roles. That can be another aspect. I noticed in the O2, Mike Myers joined in the sketch. It wasn't terribly funny, though, the way he joined in the sketch. Like Schwarzenegger, if he's a Python fan, it would be great to have him hacking Python sketches in half, meaning where you'd see the Python sketch. We might have a spiral going around where we'd know from the film, reel, how it would be evolving. And then Conan the Barbarian can kind of come in. So we've also now got the idea of borrowing characters from other popular movies, just accurate enough so that we know who the character is supposed to be, and playful enough that it's, we're amateurs, a hack job. So anyway, I think it would be great fun to have this kind of film reel moving and the Pythonish jokes kind of going around, and then Conan the Barbarian comes in with his axe and chops, and every hack of this huge, axe elongates and distorts the image of the original sketch that's being hacked at. So the Pythons become more and more distorted and grotesque until finally we chop the sketch in half. And it's called truncating. Chop the stuff in half, and it's like chopping a tree off in half. And then these new sprouts try and grow, and we hack them off again. But once he stomps off, all these sprouts start growing. And this is the new evolution of the sketch. So, 40 years later, in actual HD, as opposed to the crappy resolution that we watch the reruns on, we can now see Python-esque, universes evolving. The multiverse of Python, and start jumping around. So this is one segment in every episode, is the chopping, the truncation, the evolution into the multiverse, and then jumping between different bits in the multiverse. Now, the parallel universe of the way this sketch could have gone, but it didn't go that way because it went here. And the people walking off the set. It could have gone in this way, but you have some of the characters say, no, I'm not playing in this sketch if it's going that way, in the probability field. So bringing in a scientific element would be, I think, another valuable contribution. This can be through test tubes, as we basically take thoughts contained, spiraling them around, popping them out, hitting, psychedelic effects as different thoughts, hit upon a screen and break up, and then burst into a new gestalt, a new click into a new world. So we've got the scientific warp, we've got the hacking, the chopping, we've got the parallel universes, we've got the animation, we've got the sketch. Just that alone is adequate, but we haven't gotten it yet. So what else in a Python-esque sense could we create? Now, I think one good thing would be the artist. Why not have a poor tramp of an artist? The Ronnies did a great thing with this old tramp. I think there was even a... No, actually, Python did one as well, where there's kind of the neighborhood idiot and fool. So I think there should be some really poor fool that ends up being the painter of the whole multiverse, who's always pretending to be a complete idiot, a fool, unintelligent, no education, no money and stuff, but he's secretly painting the Python multiverse of all the different probable sketches. And when people are rude to him, he just takes out his secret eraser and deletes that whole area of the multiverse and lets out a big fart, which explodes that area and restores it back to to virgin terrain. So we've got this character can now be superimposed. We've got the scientific transition. We've got the graphical transition. We've got the hacking and reworking. And then we've got all the fresh new materials. Now, I think that another element can be kind of celebrity, well-known person's honor in a certain way, that they play a certain element in an episode. Because here again, it's so easy and fun to put this out and dub it together. So this can be another theme that adds a vitality. And a story can be part of every episode, that of a way that Python thinking shifted, meant something, shifted, processed, moved things in someone's life. And that movement can be animated in a way that gives depth perception to the explanation of that movement, where it's moving, where you get a sense of how the thoughts change as that person's face goes into this and that moves into the animation. In a sense, turning change and thought into visual language, because Gilliam talked about the key thing for him being in the whole thing being the depth of thought. And so I think another little character would be the ants or the mushrooms that are commentaries. Maybe a host of mushrooms that gather into the sket while it's happening and have little cartoon voices to comment on the sketches. In a sense, another version of the Pepper Pots, being a little herd of mushrooms that crawl into the lower screen. Where is it? Yeah, the lower screen, like right here. You'd see them kind of right here, these little mushrooms. You'd see these little thought bubbles as, oh, that's interesting. Don't interrupt the sketch. And just moving along, these little herd of mushrooms having discussions, a little bit in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, that kind of play, the mushrooms could have quite a distinct role, as meaning they're the real audience, not you and me. A little bit like the mice, the whole Earth being the experiment for the mice. There's something very fun and humorous in that line of thought, because it could be true. And you realize just how narrow you are to assume that it's all about you, right? When, the whole thing was to gauge the meaning of everything, et cetera, for a mouse. And they've got to pretend to be these small little creatures so that they don't disrupt the experiment. And so having these little mushrooms be an element. Now, I think we're about somewhere between 40 and 50% the way there, this recipe. And if we break it down, now we've already got, the Python-esque time travel and, symmetry of the front and the back and different elements coming in and coming out. I think music would be, of course, an important thing. The question is, and this is an area I don't know, the question is, how could we bring some humor into music, or would it simply be, just entertainment? Now, you do have the chance to work with it with graphics, like it was done before with, the pipes and everything new and explosions and things like that. So this could be a way to work with music. But I also think that if the music distorts a little bit in a way that didn't happen in the original series. In the original series, the graphics distorted, played, and moved around, but the music played at a steady beat, etc., and was the same. And so, we could play a little bit like, with a foot, the music being stepped on and deflated, or this giant figure coming in, sticking his foot down, and the music grinds to a halt, and then it's released and runs, and you have this figure running off trying to get to the end of the song, where every time there's this big giant that's trying to step on him, and he's trying to run away, and the song's picking up tempo again, and running, and it's and you can't get to the end of the scene, and every time it's a little bit different. Like, how does the music escape the bullying giant, so to speak, which ties in with one of our personas. That this is an inner dialogue that we all deal with. This tyrannical part of us that says, no, it can't be done. This isn't that way. That's not the way we do it. And this part that says, yeah, please give me a chance. Let me get to the end. Let me just please do my demonstration. And I think that's also a great theme. So we've got the music now, the escaping music. Can the struggling artist be heard? I think that whole theme has a lot of humor in it. The painter that's desperately trying to paint as the road crew, moves them along in, whether in animation or in actual stuff, where it's trying to, get the sunset and this and that and the other, and then they move along now. We also have political satire that we can come in a little bit more, humorously. We have homelessness, the absurdity in the United States of, the police that basically send the homeless back and forth to each other's towns. Move along now, move along now, move along now, move along now. You just have police harassing people to go harass other police in other towns or other areas, with no logical place for them to go. So, this is, an absurd thing to, where something can be done about this. But and we have the chance to make some of these live. I think doing the whole thing for charity is a great thing to do, where anyone involved can basically produce something And if it can be monetized, send it to a charity of their choosing, or project within that charity of their choosing. I'd say the Happiness Data app is the thing that I'm most interested in. And I think the other thing is to reach out to children, to have an area where, children under 12 who have been exposed to Python or who can move to Python can go in, and a little bit of a sketch can be made of that. Either just showing a child a Monty Python sketch, what do they learn about it, what do they think about it, what would they draw as a Monty Python thing, and how, what would they like to do for their school or teacher, a prank to play on the school, etc. So there can be a certain prank element. And I think that's actually a really fun element to bring into street life, Monty Python-esque pranks from around the world. Bring out your dead. So these can be reenactments and things of favorite sketches. I mean, let's have some tramps dressed up around the world with going along with old carts. Bring out your dead. Any dead people today? And just film the whole thing in reality TV. So we've got a whole arena here. Now, I'm going to close now because this can go on endlessly. But that's the point. There's a whole universe of Python-esque humor. And it's no good saying that Python's made some of the funniest material in history and it's done and gone and we're never going to get any more. Rather, let's say this is some of the funniest material in history. This is the archetypal breakdown of what made it funny. Incredible graphics, embodying the most taboo things in our culture. Playfulness, intuitive graphical segues, and working with music, graphic and weird possibilities that are unintuitive to create enormous amounts of humor that makes us think. That's a core archetypal recipe. Anyone can start practicing. And this is my happiness data project.